Three of my brothers were shot. That's escalated things. You think it would cause you to step away, but for me, it's just like you don't crack jokes on or with me unless I give you permission. So what in the world makes you think that you're going to shoot somebody in my family and then everybody don't pay?
Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today's podcast, I'm joined by Troy Evans, who is a former gang leader. Troy takes us back to his early life and what events led him to joining a gang. He worked his way up in this gang and became a leader of his own set. During his time as the gang leader, there was a bloody gang war that was going on. It eventually led him to moving away. Troy would eventually leave the gang life behind and gave his life to the Lord. He has now changed his life around and became a pastor. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this, and without further ado, let's get into Troy's story. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today, I got Troy Evans on today. Troy, thank you for taking out some time today and coming on my podcast. I really do appreciate it, man.
No, man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, how you doing today?
I'm chilling, man. Just the weather's good, you know. So
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Well, good to hear, man. I'm glad you were able to reach back out, man, and agree to come on the show, man. You got a really good redemption story, and that really fits with what my podcast is about, man. And it's like I said, you found your way to God, and so that's really what I wanted to focus on today is just hearing what your early life was like and how eventually you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So you want me to just dive in?
Yeah, I think so. Let's hear about your early life, and we'll kind of just work our way up, and I'll jump in and ask questions if I got some for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was I always say I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, became a man in Detroit, and then have lived all over the place, wrecking shop for Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So in Grand Rapids, I just grew up in a very just typical urban core community, and so that was very second biggest city in Michigan, Grand Rapids is, and so just a lot of action, a lot of things happening. But in my neighborhood and in my family, it was just there's a lot of professional athletes and fighters and martial artists and this stuff. So that was my block. That's just what we grew up doing. And so you take this kid who couldn't read and couldn't has speech issues and can hearing issues, and you place him inside of a school where dudes thought things was funny, and that kid just happened to be very skilled, and with his hands. You create a problem that would be misdiagnosed as this is just a bad kid. So in my mind, I basically accepted that narrative and fell to seventh grade 3 times and ended up in an alternative school, which didn't work for me. Got kicked out of alternative schools for fighting. And then so I hit the block. The church doors were closed to cats like me. So but the trap was always open. And so that's where I found myself hitting the street.
Did you have any family members or anything that were involved in the gang, criminal, drug dealing life at all?
Yeah, my family has always dibbled and dabbled in petty crimes and hustling and that kind of thing. In this time, you got we're talking about late 80s. We know as the particular gangs that I were involved with, they were very new to outside of Chicago. They were new going out through the rest of the country. So so it was organized gangs were very, very new in this in Michigan in that way, and so my family was into more different type of crime, more different type of stuff. But this is very new, and so I ended up moving. I ended up getting the girl pregnant when I was 16, and then I moved out of my mama's house at the same time. Worst decision on the planet, and I decided to move in with the family out of Chicago and I got involved with the gang activity with them, and so they became my family, and I love them to life today, because they didn't have to take me in.
Can you say which gang it was? Are you comfortable with that at all? Or
Now I'd rather not. Just
okay,
it was
yeah,
just a Chicago-based gang that was new to Michigan. And I'll just say that we were. I live uh, I live with the general, the chief, and so became a nephew. I dated his niece, and his nephew's my best friend back then. So, um, and so I became a family member in that sense, and it's one of the bigger gangs in Chicago, and so we were one of the first groups of people recruited in Michigan to be a part of that organization.
there. So what did that kind of lead into for you? Like being in that kind of big influential area, being in with the higher ups, say of the gang,
Yeah.
where did that put you?
Yeah, man, it put me in a weird spot where I knew of church. I didn't attend church. Wasn't like my mama didn't make us go to church, and none of that. We weren't raised in the church, none of that. But I was familiar with it, and so, but what I knew was is that there were a lot of dudes inside the church, but a lot of those dudes were busy. They didn't spend time, or when they did spend time, all they wanted to do was tell me to put my pants up and take my hat off and all this weird stuff. Where it was just like, man, I was a broken kid that I forgot to mention. At 9 years old, I was molested. And so where do you go? You better not go talk to the church about it, because then they're gonna say, hide your kids, I'm a kid. I was 9 years old, and so it's like, so where do you talk about that? And that leader, the organization was there, and it wasn't about this TV garbage. You know what I'm saying? So all this TV gang stuff. It was real family that were committed to a cause that just so happened to have twisted outcomes. You know what I mean?
And for you, what position did they put you in? Like, were you when you got in at this time, were you like a recruiter kind of guy, or I mean,
Yeah. When I first got in, started like everybody. You're a foot soldier. You run errands. You do what's necessary. To prove yourself. And but very quickly became an officer, and then became an officer of what you would call officer of literature. So my job was to make sure that there was this little booklet that I could barely read myself, but you make sure that everybody's on point with the SOPs, so standard operating procedures. They do exist in organized gangs.
dang. Yeah, I guess I never heard of that one. Yeah, that's
Facts.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, eventually, like that's for you. That was like what you said you fell into because you were looking for some kind of family, for to have that kind of support,
Yeah.
and and that was your outlet. And so, with having that kind of outlet, what were while you're in that kind of outlet or that kind of environment, did you feel fulfilled or having that kind of family? Or I mean, did you know that it wasn't maybe the right kind of family fitting, or like was there something always there, or like how did you feel at the time?
I feel great. How much poison does it take to kill a rat? You got 95% peanut butter. You only need 5% poison to kill a rat. That peanut butter remains to be like amazing. It tastes great while it's going down, but then you get to that poison, and that's all it takes to kill the rat. And so, majority of what we went through, again, this is for me. It's like I can't stand watching some of the stuff I see on TV and what these rappers rap about. Like, yo, man, I don't know where y'all living. I don't know what y'all talking about. This was fun. This was fun. And we just made weird things and violent things a part of that fun. You know what I'm saying? And so the family component that you would feel, filios or brotherly type of love, was present. When you got cats that would not, they wouldn't answer your calls, versus this guy that's willing to take a bullet for you, literally. That grows on you real quick. When something goes down, people gather around and they're really concerned. When you ain't got no food and you're 17 years old with a kid on your lap because you're a single father, then you look around like, who's coming around? Is it the church people or people that was pointing fingers at you, telling you what you need to be doing and da 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 da? No, it was that those brothers and sisters that came around to say like, yo, we got you. Now their modes of operation was twisted. And give me a dope sack, which I got him. The next phase of it would be I got to start getting involved with the dope scene because that came with it. We're talking in the '80s, crack cocaine was new to the scene, and so to get involved, and you're a single father and you're a teenager, and it's just like, man, do I go work here or do I can I make $100 in 10 minutes? So why would I ever think about doing those other things? And then with my cognitive understanding, I couldn't process the information. Like, oh, you can go to prison for this. It was just like, no, I can actually take care of my kid. I can take care of my family with this. You know what I'm saying? I have my own place at 17. So I jumped out, started selling drugs. And with that, being an officer at that time, came with a lot of responsibility. I started selling drugs and then eventually got caught in a grand jury investigation. And basically just sold. They watched me for a while and ended up selling drugs to the undercovers, and I was facing 20 years in prison. And by God's grace alone, I didn't get nowhere near that amount of time. I never went to prison. I went to jail, then did boot camp, and they gave me basically 2 years time served or whatever, and then just gave me two felonies in the high court misdemeanor and said, if you ever come back, you're doing all of that time. And so that was amazing. But of course, my philosophy is when you go to jail, you're around the best subject matter experts in the game. So they basically schooled me on how not to get caught. And so it became more treacherous and became more smart, I guess, in my field of choice. And so started getting more organized myself, and was given my own subset, my own set. So I basically went over to my mother's neighborhood, took it over, booted her and my little brother and them out of their place. It just didn't feel safe for them to be there. So made that whole neighborhood my place. And then I went back and recruited people I knew from when I was younger and created my own squad. And so did that. And then within the next summer, from one summer to the next summer, 3 of my brothers were shot, and so that's escalated things. You think would cause you to step away, but for me, it's just like, you don't crack jokes on or with me unless I give you permission. So what in the world makes you think that you're going to shoot somebody in my family and then everybody don't pay? That's just, I don't know how to put that. And so that's what it ended up turning into. And so I just went on a rampage, and well, you're beefing with everybody. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't know what these rappers talking about, man. We didn't have a lot of all those guns. We got whatever was stolen out of some old man's garage. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't have enough guns to fight the whole city. But you got people banging on your doors, and you can't go anywhere without people trying to kill you. And they shooting, cousin getting chopped over machetes. I mean, I could do this all day. People are getting laid down, and you're the only one not getting hit. It's eventually it's gonna land on you, and you're the one they come to get. And so I did like any big old tough dude would do. I was scared, and I ended up having to leave the city. It was just too much on my family. I was actually forced by my mother and my grandfather to leave. And so I took my 2 officers, and my 2 closest officers, and we ended up going to Georgia.
Wow. I mean, just a lot going on during that whole time. And that was just from how long was that time period? Just that whole outbreak of that, I suppose that war, was that just like a whole year kind of span term? Or
By the time I left, got out of jail, I was 21.
I
So
mean, so how many years
5
was that?
years.
5 years, dang. Yeah, so just quite a bit happening over time. But I mean that kind of past lifestyle, I mean, that's what's going on. That's
That's what
what's
it is.
expected.
It
Yeah.
is. And it's not even. It's fast. You don't even. You look up, 5 years gone, and you wasted it. Completely wasted. And so found myself in Georgia, and man, I was introduced to the only person that would accept me, my Uncle Vern. accepted us and put us to work. He told us, no, you ain't gonna be laying around. You gotta do some work, cutting some big old Georgia trees. And then next thing you know, I was able to land a job. I was able to get these amazing miracles called checks. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you do work and then somebody pays you for it. Like, wait a minute, this is amazing. You know, and did that. That was cool. And I was able to work at the Omni. You know, I was able to watch some games. It was just amazing. And I was bought me some new clothes, just the stuff that you would want to do when you're selling dope, but the life is moving so fast. I always say this, that there's two different addictions in the dope game. One of them is the actual thing, and then the other one is the dope dealer. You get addicted to the dopamine being released to your brain in the lifestyle, that fast lifestyle. You get addicted to the pace. You get addicted to the girls. You get addicted to the stuff. So I had to break that. And once I broke that, and like, wait a minute, this is normal. This is what normal people do. You can actually breathe. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to kill me. Nobody down here know me or nothing. You know, and I did that. And I remember, like it was yesterday, a dude rolled up and said, "Hey, you want to make some money?" I was already making some money, but I'm an addict to money. I'm an addict to hurting people. You know, I was really good at it. You know, and he was just like, "Hey, let's talk." And I'm like, "What's up?" And it's like a long story short, he needed a bodyguard, and I do that stuff for free. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, let's get paid. You know, and so I ended up jumping in the role with him. Make a long story short, end up it wasn't all as like none of it. It wasn't what was supposed to be. So it started off great with us, all the hotels and the fancy cars. And next thing you know, I'm sleeping 1, 2, 3, 5 days in the back of this delivery truck where we used to drop off stuff. I have no idea what we used to deliver, but that was my business. But I'm sleeping in the truck, and next thing you know, I'm 2, 3 months ago, I'm homeless, living in the back of a U-Haul truck. You know what I'm saying? And in North Carolina, all over, and I lost my mind. You know, there's no PTSD programming for gangbangers, right? And so how you become normal? And I was left in the back of a U-Haul truck to try to figure that stuff out on my own. I went nuts. And my wife and I, we own a group counseling practice now, and so I have a greater understanding of what I was going through. And I got up and again did what a big old hustler would do. Got up out of that truck one day with my burgundy bag with my light possessions in it, and went and called my mama and said, "I need a ride home," and called a bus from North Carolina to Michigan. Went there. I was told I couldn't live in Michigan anymore by the gang that I was a part of because I abandoned my post. And so basically, yeah, it wasn't a good thing. So I ended up moving to Detroit. And then that's where things start to get crazy, you know, in a good way.
Oh, in a good way. Okay. Well, what ended up happening with your life when you got to Detroit?
Yeah, I went there with the same mindset. Like, man, I'm about to get, I'm in Detroit now, so I can. I'm back. I'm back in, in home base. I'm smarter. I'm older now. Now we can start doing this mafia level hustling. You know, that was my mindset. I was chasing one dopamine high to the next, and that's where I was. And then this girl that I met invited me to go to church. Nothing about church I like, and she stopped sleeping with me, stopped doing all the foolishness, and just said, "Well, you need to go to church with me." So I went with her, and that day I gave my life to the Lord. And then and she did too that same day, and now 28 8 years, 9 years, she's my wife later. So and so we've been and so from that point I had to make a decision of what I want to do with the rest of my life. I don't know nothing but the street. At that point, I don't have any fancy words. I have nothing, and I'm good with my hands. So what do I do? And then I end up getting a job at a factory. I'm attending a church, and I ended up going to a smaller church. It was a huge mega church. I love what they gave me at the time, but I needed something different. I needed a pastor that wasn't scared of me. I don't know what to say. I just need a pastor that would get up in my grill piece when I'm doing craziness. That's what I needed. And that church was too big for all that. So I found exactly that times 10. This pastor was no joke, from Buffalo, New York. He wasn't no. He became a father, and really helped disciple me and what it means to serve. What does it mean to surrender your life, your whole person, the same way you did in the street? You know what I'm saying? And so that happened. So I need to figure out, like, yo, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And I was working at this factory, and this dude walked in with these khakis on, and tight khakis, and so and he just came in. And he went under this. Now this is 90 something, 94, 90. So he basically went under this thing and pulled out this big old box under the desk. It's called a CPU, Central Processing Unit, a computer. And pulled that out, and everybody was clowning him, talking about him. And I said, man, I could do what he does. And they clown me, and I didn't take that lightly. And so I started asking to do questions, and come to find out he was a computer tech. And so I did whatever I could. Back then we had 26K modems in Yahoo, and so I did what I could in AOL as well. But went and found out what that meant, and so I went on a journey. Make a long story short, by God's grace alone. I'm fully aware that I suck and he's awesome, but I'm in desperate need of him. I know that that he allowed me with no education, still haven't never seen a day in high school in my life, but he allowed me to become an IT engineer, Microsoft certified engineer, and there were only 15,000 of us in the world certified at that level. At the time, worked for everybody you can think of in Detroit as an engineer. I wasn't great at engineering. I sucked at it, actually, but I was thinking good at strategy. I did that my whole life, and somebody gave me words to my words, and so I ended up opening. I was being staffed out to General Motors at the time to help them with their conversion from Microsoft Exchange or something, and helping them do that. And then they were paying me a lot of money. I'm like, wait a minute, they're paying me this amount of money. What are y'all making? The contract house, right? And so I was like, yo, so I left there and started my own first company, which was this IT staffing firm. And so I staffed out IT people. Went back to General Motors, landed them as an account, and about 30, 40 people placed in Metro Detroit area to provide IT services. Did that, and then how you go, you tell the Lord that somebody needs to do something. And you're saying, like, yo, somebody needs to do something about that. That don't make no sense. And before you know, you're like, yeah. And before you know, it'd be like, somebody needs to do something. Well, that was me coming back to Grand Rapids. I'll come back and visit. I'm like, man, this don't make no sense. I'm sounding like an old man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, everybody needs to do something. Pull up your pants, boy. I'm doing all this foolishness. And he was just like, and I just felt the release, I'll say, that I could do something, because these pastors were scared of these dudes. I'm not. They're doing the same thing that I felt. They were left on the outside, and the only thing they got is these little stuff. So I just felt like, well, let me go do something. And so that's when we planted. At that point, planted our second church, and God's been doing ridiculous stuff since.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just really cool to see how far you've came since, your early life and being involved with the gangs and stuff, and to hear you talk about all this other stuff you did after leaving the gang, man. It's just really incredible. It's
God is
just,
good.
yeah, exactly. Anything's possible right there with God, I mean, it just really how well educated you are, and like how far you've came since, you were young like that. I mean, it just goes a long way. It just goes to show, man, you can really make a lot out of yourself. I mean, you're not defined by who you are when you're young like that, man. You can definitely make a name for yourself out of that after that. That's what the whole show is about, investing in yourself.
Absolutely, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And he there's always a diamond in the rough. You know what I'm saying? It's just, are you willing to take that pressure? And are you ready to do something?
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty much what it is, man. So you got a book out now too that you just came out with? Is that you said you through the email you said you were gonna send me one, or what wasn't
oh,
that
my
you?
bad, man. Yeah, I was supposed to say something. Yeah. So we've so I published two, three, three, four books. And
Oh,
so
okay.
so this last one is the first one was called The Edge of Redemption. It was about my story. and that's why they. Wait a minute, did the book come out then? I don't know, but yeah, The Edge of Redemption, and then this last one is called The Way of the Man, which to be a priest, provider, and protector. I'm just tired of all the noise about what masculinity looks like, and somebody needs to say something. These dudes, they're talking reckless on both sides of the camp about what manhood looks like, and it's just like I think God's word has something better to say.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really God inspired book. Is that what
Hmm.
you would label it, kind of thing?
Yeah,
Like
it's definitely a book of real dudes. I went in back and got 10 inspirational dudes in my life. They say like, "Yo, I need for y'all to speak on like just keep it a buck and just keep it real and say where did you suck, and then where did you find some successes in one of these areas." But these are very instrumental for my god brother, a former world champion, um, fighter, to two multi-millionaire business owners, to the biggest gang leader to date in Michigan. From that wide spectrum of people,
Yeah.
adding their wisdom, but who are all now leading their families, loving God, and running their businesses and stuff. So, yeah, it's just cool just to have all those people that meant something over my journey to talk
Yeah.
about what does it mean to be a man.
Yeah, so they all have a couple commonalities, like coming across you and
Yeah,
having trust in God kind of thing. So
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's pretty cool, man, that you've written what, 4 books now, you said?
yeah. I'm on a journey to get a book with all my kids. I've set these goals. I got other things to do, but man, I feel like your words that you say, will be here. That's why I'm so happy you're doing like podcasts, because you can talk to people, but this right here will last way beyond you. And I think the same thing with writing. If I can get my kids to think about putting things on wax, write things down. And so I said, well, let me stop talking about it. I'm gonna write a book with all of y'all. So
That'd be
that
cool.
was so I did a kid's book with my daughter. She's a teacher and she struggled with reading as well when she was a kid. So to be a teacher that specializes in reading, to do, it's kind of an amazing thing to happen. So did a kid's book, and then my daughter, she's a private chef for billionaires, and so it's like, so she struggled in school too. So we're doing a cookbook together. So we'll just keep on
Oh,
doing that.
yeah, yeah. No, that's just cool. Yeah, just do one with both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, all that stuff does last forever, and I mean, just like the Bible, it's still around after thousands of
Right,
years
right.
and all
Yeah,
that.
they tried to burn them, do all kinds of stuff, and things still kicking.
Still here.
So,
Yeah. So, I mean, you do a lot of preaching and stuff too then?
not anymore. I retired. Oh man, it's been almost 2 years now. I retired from pastoring. I started 4 churches that I pastored, and then so then I do not when I say preaching. I'm not in a lot of churches per se, but I do get a chance to speak to quite a few people through conferences, and several thousand people a year. So that's always cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, you do I mean, so you overall, you did end up starting 4 churches and helping them get off from the ground, and, I mean, was there, like, a certain name you labeled them or, like, a branch or
Yeah. So there
mm,
was, they all were weird because I'm a weird dude, you know what I'm saying? And so I believe in contextualization, or, knowing your context and then living in that, and
mhm,
just not being afraid of being who you are while you
right,
in that, right? And so I am who I am. I don't give a rip what you think about me. So it's like, why would I change that in the church context? Why wouldn't I be exactly who I am? Because God made me this way. So why don't I just be like this, and then let me see if there's other people that's weird like me, and I just so happen to be born of the hip hop culture. It's not. This. I'm born in this, right? So we planted, a couple hip hop churches. That's the last couple that we did. So you take worship and hip hop and smash them together. Yeah, all that. You know what I'm saying? It was that. You know what I mean? And that's what we do. And so it's been a blessing to be able to pastor those, and then be able to do as a mentor for 8 years to
yeah.
pass the baton to him. And now he's pastoring the church now. So
Are they like ever live streamed or something? Maybe I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, it's a church called The Edge. I
The
think
Age.
I'm not sure if they're live streaming now. They're revamping the whole picture of it, but then they'll come back out to the world and just kind of show how they get now. But it's a different type of thing. We started 18 companies with youth
Wow.
and young adults that we don't own. They own them. We invest the money and let them do what they do. With dance school, and there we've hired about 400 youth to work, get jobs, and train them on their specific expertise. And so it's really different. It's turned upside down where the old people in the church are 35, you know what I'm saying? And so it's turned upside down. They're saying, like, if you're willing to give a young cat a gun and tell them to fight for our country, then why can't they lead in local organizations and churches? Because we suck at boot camp. We're pretty good at boot camp, but we suck at ongoing training. So why don't we get better at ongoing training and then release these cats to go change the world? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to look at it.
So now 4 or 5 Grammys of these cats that's coming from the dirt, you know.
Wow.
Like, I mean, you can't watch TV without hearing some of my guys. You just can't, you know. Like the last what was the name of the movie? Fighting movie. I forget what it's called, but
like
Creed 3.
Creed.
So the trailer, that's one of my guys. That's his song. If you watch, there's a football show on Netflix. That's one of my guys. NFL, you name it. They're all they're just there. And these are guys that didn't have daddies. They didn't have none of that. They sleep in in cold houses, and because it was a church that made them priority, it changed things. So kind of sort of create something that if I was a kid, what would I want? And then we just did it and quit talking about it.
That's cool, man. That's really awesome. Giving out opportunities and stuff too.
Yeah.
While inspiring. Yeah. Well, Troy, I do appreciate you taking out some time, man. I mean, you got any final words or anything you want to wrap up on or say?
No, man. Just thank you so much, man, for putting your words on wax, man, and letting people hear your voice and pulling other people into your story brand. So appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast with Troy Evans. He's got a similar story to a lot of the other gangsters I've interviewed in the past. Let his story be a reminder that the criminal life is a dead end. Troy has found so much peace in his life now after leaving the gang life behind and giving his life to the Lord. I gotta say, it's pretty incredible that he became a pastor after all that he experienced in life. Please comment any key takeaways that you got from this podcast with Troy. Please share it with anyone that you think will enjoy this podcast. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's podcast. Hit the notification bell if you want to get notified when the next podcast drops. Please also hit subscribe if you want to continue to get more videos from me. And at the end of this video, a playlist will pop up of all the other Invest in Yourself podcasts I've done in the past. Thank you again so much for watching, and of course, we'll see you on the next one.